Charles Horton Cooley, a famous sociologist, was a founding member and the 8th president of the American Sociological Association. Charles was born August 17, 1864, and died May 8, 1929. He was the fourth of 6 children and had a difficult childhood because his father intimidated and alienated him, which forced him to be rather shy and developed several insecurities due to his speech impediment. Cooley graduated from the University of Michigan in 1887, where his father once taught. He later married in 1890 to Elsie Jones and had 3 children. He went through years of education, but officially began teaching sociology in the year 1894 to 1895. He sometimes used his own children as the subjects for personal observation for his theories. Cooley is known for many of his famous theories, including his first major work, The Theory of Transportation, and his most famous work is The Theory of the Looking Glass Self. In 1890, Cooley attended the University of Michigan for the second time to study political economy and sociology. However, at the time, there were no formal exam sociology courses available, so a man named Franklin Giddings enabled him to study this subject by sending him test questions. Cooley had released his first major theory in 1894 named The Theory of Transportation, originally a long essay assignment he had completed in that course. The basic concept of the transportation theory stated that cities and towns were located at the meeting of transportation routes. This theory had been the start of his sociology career. An example of this, just like the transportation theory states, is the bus terminal located beside the Fairview Shopping Center in Point Claire is surrounded by cities and neighborhoods, such as the city of Point Claire, DDO, and Kirkland. The looking glass self is the self-image an individual forms by imagining what others think of his or her behavior and appearance. Depending on what people say and how they react to certain things, like a person's appearance, this can really set a certain image in the individual's mind as to who they are and what they look like. The name of this theory says it all. We are not consciously aware that we often try to conform to the image that we imagine other people expect from us. By seeing what people think of you, you tend to go along with that and eventually develop their perception and mentality when it comes to knowing who you are. We believe that opinion of others are no more important than our own. This theory usually activates itself when a person is a child. If the parents of a child begin to treat the infant like it's the smartest person in the world, the child will grow up, expected by himself and others, that he needs to do better than everyone else since he has a higher intelligence. We can also connect this to domestic abuse. If a woman is being physically and mentally abused by her partner, a certain mentality develops that she deserves the physical and emotional pain. According to Cooley, the process of the looking glass self has 3 steps. First, we imagine how we appear to everyone around us. At most times, this imagination is false because it's all based on assumptions. Second, we imagine what judgments people make of us based on our appearance. Lastly, we imagine how the person feels about us based on the judgment made of us. The ultimate result is that we often change our behavior based on how we feel people perceive us.
Charles Cooley was the first person to introduce the concept of primary and secondary groups in his book Social Organization, a study of the larger mind. A primary group is usually a small social group of people who share close, personal, and enduring relationships. These groups are marked by the people's concern for each other in their shared activities and culture. Some examples can include family, childhood friends, and highly influential social groups. The group initially consisted of the first intimate group of people in a child's life. Only later was the classification extended to include other intimate relations in a person's life. Primary groups have been shown to be important parts in the development of personal identity. In a primary group, one learns to share love, care, concern, support, animosity, etc.
Relationships that are formed in primary groups are often long-lasting. Primary groups are psychologically comforting the members of the group, and it provides a source of support. Some real-life examples would be family groups, love relationships, crisis support groups, and church groups. Primary groups develop because of the size of a group. Small groups allow people to get to know each other well. Face-to-face contact also helps in the development of primary groups. Continuous contact is a huge factor. And proper social environment is also crucial for developing a primary group. Members of these groups may be friends, but the relationship exists to accomplish a task. If friendship becomes more important than the task, then the group will become ineffective. In a secondary group, people interact on a less personal level than a primary group. Rather than having a close and long-lasting relationship, the relationships are short-term and the individuals don't share as much on an intimate level. Charles Cooley termed that as secondary because these relationships often develop later in life and are much less likely to be influential on one's identity. Secondary relationships involve weak emotional ties and little personal knowledge of one another.
In contrast to primary groups, secondary groups don't have a goal of maintaining and developing the relationships themselves. Interactions are often based upon tasks or reciprocity, such as the temporary relationship between salesperson and customer. Some examples may include numerous employees within a corporation or a university with thousands of students, as these interactions would be impermanent.
Another example may be athletic teams. In a sport, you work together with individuals of a group to attain the same goals for that particular sport. You learn to work with those individuals for a short amount of time and often don't continue that relationship outside of that sport.
In conclusion, most of Cooley's theories involve behavior and relationships of people. The looking glass theory explains how people see themselves based on how they believe others view them, whether it's appearance, background, or even personality. The theory of primary and secondary relationships can connect to the looking glass theory since your relationships with people determine how you yourself view those people. Since Cooley's theories are all people-based, they will constantly be used and talked about in sociology.